Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Survey Corps had seen many things in his 47 years of service across 17 different star systems. He had witnessed the birth of nebulae, the collapse of civilizations, and the discovery of sentient crystals that sang mathematical equations. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the sight before him. A human was walking out of Kepler 442c, casually munching on what appeared to be some sort of packaged food product. "Sir," his communications officer, Lieutenant Vexara, whispered with barely contained horror. "The human is that creature actually consuming sustenance while exiting the death world?" Zixtal's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a nervous habit he'd developed during his early days surveying hostile territories. Kepler 442c wasn't just any planet. It was the graveyard of expeditions. In the past 2 centuries, 43 different species had attempted to explore its surface. None had returned. The planet's official designation in galactic survey records was Terminus Extremis, the final end. The planet boasted surface temperatures that could melt most starship hulls, gravity 3 times the galactic standard, an atmosphere composed primarily of sulfuric compounds that could dissolve bone in minutes, and indigenous life forms that made Thanatarian war beasts look like domestic pets. The very ground was saturated with radioactive elements that could cause cellular breakdown in most known species within hours. And yet there was Marcus Chen, according to their records, a Class 5 human explorer from the relatively new species that had joined the Galactic Federation only 50 years ago, strolling across the hellscape like he was taking a walk through a recreational park. "Zoom in on his consumption item," Zixtal ordered, his voice cracking slightly. The view screen focused on the small, rectangular package in the human's hand. Bright colors decorated its surface, and strange symbols that their translator identified as Cheez-Its were prominently displayed. "He's eating processed food tablets?" Vexara's voice rose an octave higher than usual, while walking through an environment that should have killed him 17 different ways by now. Marcus Chen appeared to be completely unbothered by the fact that he was surrounded by what could only be described as a living nightmare. Behind him, massive creatures with too many teeth and not enough regard for the laws of physics crashed through forests of crystalline trees that rang like death knells in the poisonous wind. Volcanic vents spewed clouds of corrosive gas that had turned previous expeditions into barely identifiable organic residue. Lightning storms crackled overhead with enough electrical energy to power a small moon. The human paused, pulled out a small device from his pocket, and appeared to be taking photographs. "Sir," the tactical officer, Chief Grarthok, reported with the tone of someone whose worldview was currently being reconstructed, "our sensors indicate the human's biological readings are normal. His heart rate is consistent with light physical exercise. His stress hormones are actually lower than baseline measurements." "Lower than baseline?" Zixtal repeated faintly. "Yes, sir. According to our xenobiology database, humans typically exhibit elevated stress responses when approaching mildly challenging environments. This human appears to be relaxed." Marcus Chen had now reached what the survey maps designated as the killing fields, a stretch of terrain where the planet's various death-dealing factors converged into a perfect storm of lethality. Acid rain fell in sheets that could strip flesh from bone. The ground itself moved with predatory intent, reaching up with tendrils that could crush a battle tank. The air shimmered with heat that had liquefied previous expeditions' equipment. The human opened another package. "What is he consuming now?" Zixtal asked weakly. "Translating. Trail mix with M&Ms, Vexara reported. "Sir, I'm reading the nutritional information from our scans. It appears to be a combination of dried fruit, nuts, and small candy-coated chocolate pieces." "He's snacking?" Chief Grarthok said in the tone of someone coming to terms with the fundamental wrongness of the universe. "He's literally snacking while walking through the most lethal environment in this sector of the galaxy." A massive beast, something that looked like a fusion of a spider, a volcano, and a particularly aggressive nightmare, erupted from the ground directly in front of Marcus Chen. The creature stood 12 meters tall, dripped acid from every appendage, and let out a roar that registered on their instruments as capable of causing immediate psychological trauma to most sentient species. Marcus Chen looked up from his trail mix, observed the creature for a moment, then pulled out his device and took another photograph. The beast, apparently as confused as the watching aliens, paused mid-roar. The human walked around it. The creature, clearly operating outside its normal parameters, watched him pass with what could only be described as bewilderment before retreating back into its hole. "Sir," Lieutenant Vexara's voice was now barely a whisper, "I'm detecting an incoming transmission. From the human." "Put it through," Zixtal managed. Marcus Chen's voice came through the comm system with startling clarity and an almost cheerful tone. "Hey there, Galactic Survey Ship. Marcus Chen here. Just finished up the preliminary exploration of Kepler 442c. Gotta say, this place reminds me a lot of Death Valley back home, but with better scenery. I've got some great photos for the tourism board. The local wildlife is pretty shy, but they're fascinating to observe. I should be at the extraction point in about 20 minutes. Hope you brought coffee. I'm almost out of snacks." The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of life support systems and the sound of several alien minds quietly breaking. "Chief Garthok," Zixtal said finally, "please update our files on human physiology and psychology." "What should I add, sir?" Zixtal stared at the view screen where Marcus Chen was now sitting on a rock that glowed with lethal radiation, sharing what appeared to be crackers with a small creature that had approximately 47 ways to kill most known life forms. Simply note that humans are apparently incapable of recognizing when they should be dead. As if to emphasize the point, Marcus Chen waved cheerfully at their ship and held up an empty snack package, giving them a thumbs up that somehow managed to convey both satisfaction with his meal and casual dismissal of an environment that had claimed the lives of hundreds of trained explorers. The Galactic Survey Corps would need to completely revise their danger classifications. Apparently, what was lethal to the rest of the galaxy was merely interesting to humans. Marcus Chen stood up, brushed crumbs off his exploration suit, and began walking toward the extraction point, whistling what their cultural database identified as "Don't Stop Me Now" by an ancient human musical group called Queen. Zixtal made a mental note to request a transfer to a nice, quiet desk job cataloging gas giant atmospheric compositions. Humans were clearly going to make this universe a much more complicated place.